Nice guys use their emotions as a way to manipulate others. Childhood trauma or whatever story that they've learned through therapy as a way to get what they want.
Behind every nice guy is a secret, a hidden contract. If I'm good, I'll be loved. But what happens when that love never comes?
When a nice guy is doing all of his nice guy stuff, he really just wants approval. Nice guy is the male form of people pleasing.
This episode is a deep dive into the dark psychology of people-pleasing men, why women pull away, why attraction dies, and why the nice guy is often the loneliest man in the room. This isn't about being mean, it's about being real.
Whole nice guy mentality is around trying to avoid conflict. Women want all of it. They don't just want the nice guy. They don't just want the happy part. They want all of us.
Have you ever wondered what masculinity even is in the modern era? Are you ready to move beyond the macho bully or the soy boy archetypes? I'm Marc, and this is the Men's Therapy Podcast. Together we'll explore how neuroscience, Jungian psychology, and Buddhist philosophy can transform your life, your marriage, and your business. Are you ready to deep dive into the minds of men? Let's begin. Hello, Marc here. I'm the host of the Men's Therapy Podcast, and we're starting something new on the show, solo episodes. I've been hearing from a lot of our listeners that they want more of me, more of my opinions, and they want to hear what I think about all the topics that we've really been diving into over the past 4 years that the show has been running. So we're doing it. Starting this month, every 2 weeks, we're going to be doing a solo episode. We're also trying to theme our episodes so that you kind of have a progressive, listening experience as you're going. So yeah, tune in. These will usually be a little bit shorter, but it'll be a way that you can hear some of my thoughts, both as, a psychologist myself and after talking to a ton of the great experts that we've interviewed over the years. So this month, we're going to talk about nice guys. So the nice guys are a big deal. We get a lot of interest about that. Basically, a nice guy is the male form of people pleasing. It's the idea, and some of you guys may relate with this. I know me personally, I am a recovering nice guy. It's this idea that if you just give a woman or people in your life everything that they want, they will reward you, whether it be with career success or with sex or with love or whatever it is. There'll be this idea that if you just, press the right buttons, if you pull the slot machine the right way, then you can get what you want out of life. But usually what nice guys do is they really minimize their own needs. They bottle it up, they don't ask for what they want, and they just focus entirely on the other person. The problem with that is that it doesn't actually work, especially in romantic relationships. So today we're going to dive into the 7 reasons why women secretly dislike nice guys and what they actually want. So here we go. Reason number 1, nice guys are passive, not decisive. So like I'm saying, guys are trying to be more reactive. They often don't have opinions about things. You kind of have the classic thing where, your relationship partner comes up to you and says, "Hey, honey, what dress do you like better? Do you like the blue dress or do you like the red dress?" The nice guy answer is, whatever dress you think you want, which is kind of lame, right? It's like kind of weak. It doesn't really give anything for the woman to ping off of. But what the nice guy is doing is, in good nature, they're not wanting to impose anything. A lot of nice guys feel like they don't want to force anything in their lives. They feel like they don't want to be the aggressor. And what it comes across as is really passive. So the answer is, instead of saying, "Hey, honey, whatever you want," is to say, "You know what? I really like the red dress, but you can pick whatever one looks better for you." So having a kind of preference is really critical, because women want a man that they can bounce off of. They want a man that they can have a equal relationship and have a back and forth with. They want a guy that is going to make decisions and who's going to lead. So as a nice guy, again, I'm a recovering nice guy myself, we're taught, usually actually by the women in our lives in some ways, to let women take the lead and let women control, right? And just to be easy, to be nice, to just, support them no matter what. And these are good things in theory, but in practice, if that is the only stance that you're taking, it's going to create a very passive relationship. And ultimately, your woman is not going to know who you are, what you stand for, what you even care about. So the idea here is to be more decisive. Practice figuring out what your preferences are, even on minor things like where you want to go out to dinner, or what color you want to paint the new room you're building out, or what type of music you want to listen to in the car. All those things are really critical because, again, it lets your woman get know you better, and creates more back and forth an actual relationship, right? Rather than you just trying to please them. The next one is that nice guys seek validation, not connection. So what do I mean by this? Validation is approval, basically. So when a nice guy is doing all of his nice guy stuff, he really just wants approval. He wants his partner to think that he is great, that he is helpful, that he is valuable, that he is useful. But he's not really connecting with her. In fact, he's really narrowing down the band of connection to a really small thing where it's just about, am I a good boy or not? Whereas connection is a very wide, it's a huge aperture, right? When you talk about connection, it's not just, hey, do you like me or not? It's, can we experience joy together? Can we experience grief together? How about sadness? How about anger? Do you really get to know each other on a deep level? Connection is an interplay back and forth. And, I talk a lot about vulnerability, and I'm a therapist, so we're going to talk about that. And the best definition of vulnerability I found is starting a conversation that you don't know how it's going to end. That's connection, right? You're bringing up something, you're taking a risk, you're putting yourself out there in a way that you don't really know where it's going to go. Nice guys, they do the opposite of that. They sometimes use their emotions as a way to manipulate others. What that looks like is, you see a lot in therapy, honestly, is that they weaponize therapy, is that they're using their emotions or using their childhood trauma or whatever story that they've learned through therapy as a way to get what they want. And that's not connection. That's not vulnerability. That's persuasion. That's manipulation. And women are all about connection. They're pulling for that all the time. So as a nice guy, what you want to do is try to be vulnerable. Try to take an emotional risk. Try something new and don't care so much about validation. You got to validate yourself, right? So doing something like going to therapy or starting coaching is really helpful in figuring out how to feel validated yourself so you don't need your woman to do that for you. The next one is that nice guys lack sexual polarity. So what do I mean by that? Sexual polarity is this idea that in any relationship, heterosexual or queer, homosexual, right, that there typically tends to be a masculine and feminine pole. These aren't related to birth, sex, right? It's a gender thing. So like I said, even in homosexual relationships, you often see that there is a more masculine partner and a more feminine partner. This polarity creates romantic attraction. It's the idea, if you're following kink culture, the idea of dominance and submission, the idea of generating and receiving, the idea of yin and yang, right? You have all these things throughout history where there's this polarity of energies. We're going to call them masculine and feminine, but there's tons of other ways to look at them. They don't have to be, sexualized. But without that polarity, there's no spark, right? There's no thing that really gets sex going, that really makes it exciting, that adds romance, and ultimately generates that type of romantic love. Because these roles are so innate, both to us biologically and culturally, there needs to be somebody that is leading and somebody that is receiving, right? There has to be somebody that is that more penetrating energy, typically the masculine, and someone that's more receptive energy, typically the feminine. So as a nice guy, we're often damping down our masculine energy. We're keeping it under wraps. A lot of us either got messages through our experiences or through, our parents saying like, hey, don't be a predator. Don't be creepy. Don't be a weirdo. Don't be a pervert. We're getting all that message. But really, what that means for a lot of guys, because we internalize it, is we end up shutting down sexually. We end up really being reticent to engage sexually, to initiate. A lot of times we don't have a lot of sexual experience, or we are unwilling to take sexual risks or to lead in that arena. So the idea, right, is as a nice guy, you have to be able to interact with your aggression. And that is often for guys the root of our sexuality, right? It's not about hurting your partner or forcing them or, God forbid, raping them or anything, but it's being able to initiate from a place of strength and confidence. That is what women, especially feminine women, are really attracted to.
Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you wanted to open up, but you were afraid that it wouldn't be taken well? You ask yourself, what's the point? Nothing's going to change anyway. So you do what you always do. You push it down, numb out the pain with a drink, a night out, or pornography. I've been there myself, and I know that men lack the outlets for emotional expression, which is why I founded Men's Therapy Online, a healing hub for men's mental health. If you've been knocked on your ass or just crave meaningful connection, join Men's Therapy Online, a community of men who just get it. We offer individual therapy, men's groups, and powerful retreats, all led by licensed therapists. At Men's Therapy Online, we will help you to get back on your feet and take your life to the next level. Start your journey today at menstherapy.online.
The next thing is that nice guys avoid conflict, right? The whole nice guy mentality is around trying to avoid conflict. And usually nice guys have good reason for this. Maybe they had an abusive childhood. Maybe they had some awful experiences of conflict early on in their lives. Maybe they don't have a lot of self-esteem. So they don't believe that they would be, good in a conflict or be able to win a conflict. So they do all this stuff, like I'm saying before, trying to manipulate, trying to work around, talk around, be really wiggly in order to avoid conflict. But as we were talking about before, women like connection. And one of the best ways for connection is conflict. And when I say conflict, I'm not talking about fighting. I'm talking about conflict, right? Disagreeing. Really being like, hey, here's where I feel about something. What do you feel about it? And let's come to a solution in the middle, compromising. A lot of nice guys don't do that. And often they'll do either one of two things, right? One, they'll stonewall and invalidate. So, your female partner comes to you with an issue. They say, hey, I really don't like how you leave the toilet seat up or something like that. And the nice guy will be like, well, that shouldn't be a problem, right? We'll invalidate. We'll be like, oh, that's so minor. It doesn't matter. They'll push him away. Or they'll just kind of cave and be like, yes, I will do that every time. It is my sworn duty. I will always put the toilet seat down. And both of those suck. Right? Both of those suck because you're not talking about how you feel about the issue. You're not connecting over why she's upset about the toilet seat. Spoiler alert, it's not the toilet seat. There's a lot more going on when they bring that up, right? It's often about feeling deprioritized, feeling neglected, feeling as though they're not top of mind for you. So you're shutting down the conversation by just trying to solve the problem. And you're not really understanding, you're not moving towards deeper understanding and connection with your partner. So by avoiding conflict, you're actually also avoiding connection. The next one is that nice guys lack purpose. It kind of goes back to what we talked about before about nice guys being passive. But if you think of passiveness and decisiveness as kind of something in a relationship, this is like the higher level. So a lot of nice guys lack purpose. They lack drive. They lack ambition because of these messages of being told not to step on others' toes, to be told to always make space for others, to be told, that our aggression is not wanted or our masculine energy is not wanted. So they lack purpose. They lack a drive. They lack ambition. They lack motivation. They lack a reason. And again, women want that. Feminine women want a guy on a mission. There's a really great example that's brought up. This is in David Data's book, Way of Superior Man. He talks about the idea of a woman dating a soldier, right? And you have the soldier and he's like, okay, honey, I'm going to war. I'm going to war. We got to fight World War II. We got to punch those Nazis. And the woman, being feminine, right? Of course, she's going to be like, no, don't go, right? Like, I need you here. I need you to be with me and the kids. And I need you to like stay and be safe and be protected because that's what the feminine's about, right? The masculine is about risk taking and risk seeking. And the feminine is about comfort, safety, and connection. Again, you need both. But if the guy is a nice guy and he says, you know what, you're right. I'm not going to go to war. I'm not going to fight the Nazis. I'm going to stay home with you and the kids. In the short term, the woman might like that, sure, because she got what she wanted and she felt heard and respected. But ultimately, she's going to lose respect for the nice guy. She's going to lose respect for you because she's going to be like, all those other guys went to war. All those other guys had a purpose. They had a mission and they were willing to really sacrifice from themselves in order to do that mission. So as a nice guy, the work is to develop a purpose, to find that mission, to find something that gives you power, that gives you a direction, and that feels like you're contributing something that you really care and believe in. And women will respect that. They respect that, especially if we talk about it from a place of confidence and security, right? Being like, yes, this is my mission. I have room for you. I love you. I love our family. But this is something that's greater than myself that I really need to fight for. It's very attractive, right? The next thing is that nice guys suppress their true selves. So if you take in what we're talking about before, this nice guy pattern of people pleasing, of always being agreeable, of always validating, of being kind of manipulative, frankly, right? You're not being yourself. The nice guy is not being themselves. They're putting on this mask. They're putting on this like big smiley face mask, and their partner doesn't get to know who they are because women want all of you. They don't just want the nice guy. They don't just want the happy part. They want all of us. And for guys, that's pretty crazy because we just want the happy part of ourselves, right? But women want all of us. They want our insecurity. They want our fear. They want our passion. They want our sexuality. They want our anger. They want our sadness, our grief. They want to know us fully. And that takes a while for guys to grok, especially if you're a nice guy, because you just want to present the best part of yourself forward. But women, they're smart, right? And they're really in tune with micro expressions. They can really see, how we really feel about things. So they know that there's some level of dishonesty that's happening when we're being the nice guy. They can see that, maybe he wasn't totally okay with what I just said. Or maybe he does have a feeling about, X, Y, and Z. Maybe he didn't want to go to this, dinner, this family dinner that I invited him to, or whatever it is, right? Because they can pick up on those subtle things. I'll tell you right now, if you're a nice guy, you're not hiding it well. You're not, right? They can pick up on things that we are not even aware of. So when a nice guy is suppressing his true self, it creates more and more of that distance in the relationship and erodes connection. And the very last thing is that nice guys expect rewards for being good. And when that can look like, being the breadwinner, or doing all the chores, or taking care of the yard, or driving the kids around, we expect rewards. And often we don't tell our partner what those rewards are. For a lot of guys, it's sex. Be really blunt about that. Maybe the deeper level, it's love, it's connection. For some guys, it's like, hey, if I do everything, we're not going to fight, right? We're going to maintain a nice household. But the nice guy's not putting that out there. So they create what's called covert contracts. This idea of if the nice guy does everything, if he checks all the boxes, he'll finally get what he wants out of his relationship. And because women don't know that that's happening, right? One, they're always going to disappoint the nice guy because they don't know what the game was, right? They don't know what the agreement was that they walked into. And two, it creates this level of disappointment and resentment that women are going to pick up on. If you do all the chores and you're expecting to get lucky that night and you don't, you're probably going to be pretty pissed, pretty upset, really distant. And over time, that resentment will erode the relationship. So those are, 7 things that nice guys do and why women dislike it, right? And hopefully it gave you some ideas of what they actually want and how to interact with women and hopefully bring more love and romance into your life. So we'll go through them really quickly again. Nice guys are passive, not decisive. They seek validation, not connection. They lack sexual polarity. Nice guys avoid conflict. They lack purpose. They suppress their true selves, and they expect rewards for being good. So let me know what you thought about this. Feel free to comment, like, share, subscribe, do all the stuff. We're trying out these new solo episodes. I'm pretty excited about them. I think they're going to go really well. So
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review. And don't forget to visit menstherapy.online to learn more about the work that we are doing to support and inspire men. Until next time, keep moving forward.